Equity is such, from a tech guy, from a coder's perspective, equity is such a weird, untouchable thing.
Because it's tangible, like it's a physical number, but it doesn't change the code.
When I'm on Upwork, there are people who want people to do jobs, and often they'll post prices that they're willing to pay. Often, you'll get approached by people and they'll say, hey, I need a developer. I'm a starter, I'm a founder. We have this app built out. I need a technical person to lead the team. How about you join on our team, and you get equity in the company? And sometimes that's just them trying to get free work, and then nothing ever happens of it.
You've had that happen to you?
I've had this happen to me multiple times on Upwork, where people hit me up, and rather than wanting to pay me, they want to give me equity. And I've had some companies where I've gone through and done that. I've had some companies where it hasn't. I have not had a relationship on Upwork that was dealt in equity that I've actually had in the long term beneficial to me. It could just be me personally. So far, it hasn't.
Yeah,
that's
part of the game in taking equity, though, is that when you get cash, okay, sure, it's going to depreciate relative in value over time, but it's cash, right?
But why is some random person approaching me and saying, hey, I want to give you equity and I don't want to pay you? Like, it seems really weird, and there's different numbers depending on the person.
But how are you gonna?
Here's 35% when you build our app of our company. You get 35%. I'm like, okay, sounds something. And then the next company, it's like, hey, here's 10%. 10% is adequate with you building out the platform.
And you have to guess, okay, well, how much will that be worth when it's sold? And are the shares that I'm getting now going to be diversified with other people?
Yeah, you don't know, like, what you get 10% now could be 1% or 0.0%. 0.01% in the future.
That's how it's so impressive that Jeff Bezos has been able to hold 16% to this point.
There's different
you
types
hear 16%,
of deal structures.
you're like, Jeff Bezos deserves way more than that. And then you think about it, you're like, he had to build one of the largest companies in the history of the world, if not what will be the largest company in the history of the world. How did he do that? Like, where did he decide to give up parts of his company, right? He definitely, when he started the bookstore of Amazon, wasn't saying, hey, if you build my website where I'm going to sell books, I'll give you a quarter of it.
Do you think a lot of companies, when Bezos is giving equity to the people who started with him, do you think that he's expecting them, when he's giving out some of this money or some of this equity, I also kind of expect that you're going to work with this to also give away parts of your equity again for other companies? Or do you think that when founders like that make decisions, that they're thinking, I'm giving this person equity, I expect them to hold on to it and never to really leverage that to help the business? You know, like
well,
for me,
give people it's the way you structure your equity pools and stuff. There's like different types of equity that you get. Like if you take venture money, a lot of times you have to pay the venture firm back a certain X, like 10X, 5X, 3X of their investment before anyone gets money. And so actually I think Bezos having 16% is like a lot of his company. For a company that big, that's a lot of the company. Like when you make these big companies, there's going to be there's going to be a point where there may not be, we don't know because we're going to the future, but there may be a point when it's like, yes, we can blow this up, but we need XYZ millions of dollars, and then you'd have to give the investors money, but you still own like a lot.
So
it's
rewind to the year 1995. Jeff Bezos wants to start this e-commerce platform. People don't know, like he has to explain to people what the internet is to explain his business. Like think about how archaic that would have been back then in the 90s, right? So he goes to his parents, and the SEC uncovers this in the late 90s, and he asks for $250,000. It is now worth $30 billion, that $250,000 that they gave him.
It's a big investment from his parents. It's an opportunity not a lot of people get.
Well, it goes to show that, anyone is capable of creating anything. We all have our own free will. But the dynamics of the world have to play out in your favor for it actually to work out. You can't just have things work out, right? Granted, he could have found that $250,000 elsewhere. Sure helps that his parents were someone that he could do that with, right?
Yeah. Reading Shoe Dog and reading about Phil Knight. Back in the 60s when Phil Knight's starting this company that at the time was called Blue Ribbon, venture capital wasn't a thing. how you found funding for your company was strictly trying to go to a bank and get a traditional loan.
Yeah, and they have
And
very high rates.
When he's starting and the internet boom is coming and venture capital is starting to be a thing, now we have crowdsourcing and we have Kickstarter and we have Indiegogo, and it makes it so that you can really democratize the founding of your company instead of having one single. Venture capital was nice. You could have more speculation in your ability to get money. Now crowdsourcing, it's like rather than having one single company having to give me $250,000,
yeah,
what if I have 250,000 people give me $1?
and I think we're still very early in crowdsourcing in the same way that Jeff Bezos had to explain the internet to other people. I think modern financing, like what we'll be able to do in 50 years when we have billions of more people and technology connects people from every place around the world, people are going to have a lot more autonomy over what it means to give someone $1, because $1 is your vote for how you want your society to be. Most people aren't powerful. Really, when you think of it, no one is actually that powerful because you can't change that much, right? But imagine if all of humanity worked together and it was like every single dollar that they spent was a vote for the types of things that they wanted to go on. I think we might have a much more interesting society.